What is intersectionality? The word intersectionality has become a buzzword, and like many buzzwords, its meaning has been distorted through its broad usage. It is thus critical to read the scholarship on intersectionality and to listen to Black women who have been developing this theoretical framework for decades. Intersectionality is not a question of counting our identities to see how many marginalized identities we have. Intersectionality is not something that only applies to people of color or to women. It applies to us all, as intersectionality involves an analysis of how multiple systems of oppression shape all of our lives. For example, white supremacy, patriarchy, and capitalism are three interlocking systems of oppression. White supremacy is a system of racial stratification that places whites at the top of the hierarchy. Patriarchy is a system of gender oppression where men hold the power and are the central figures in the family, community, government, and larger society. Capitalism is a system of class exploitation that produces wealth and income inequality through a profit-based system that maximizes profit for capitalists. Sociologist Patricia Hill Collins argues that these three systems are interdependent and that we cannot understand one system without looking at the others. Feminist theorist Bell Hooks describes these systems of oppression as the white supremacist capitalist patriarchy. Bell Hooks explains that the interlocking systems of classism, racism, and sexism work to keep women exploited and oppressed. Kimberly Crenshaw was the first scholar to refer to the intersection of these systems of oppression as intersectionality. Building on notions of interlocking systems of oppression developed by Black feminists, Crenshaw published an article in 1991 that argued that an intersectional framework is necessary to understand the experiences of women of color who have survived domestic violence. In her study of women in a Los Angeles shelter, Crenshaw found that the women who seek protection are usually poor women of color. Their poverty is in part a result of white supremacy, which leads to limited opportunities for women of color. They end up at the shelter because they are fleeing domestic abuse, a common feature of patriarchal societies, and also because their poverty means they cannot afford to go elsewhere. Women with financial means at their disposal do not end up at domestic violence shelters. Patriarchy, white supremacy, and capitalism shape both the extent to which women experience domestic violence and the ways the state and society respond to survivors. To understand why women of color are overrepresented in domestic violence shelters, we need an understanding of how the white supremacist capitalist patriarchy works. This understanding allows for a deeper analysis, both of how people experience oppression and how these systems of oppression operate. An intersectional analysis requires an analysis of interlocking systems of oppression.